The new Borderlands boasts about having over 30 billion guns, but what if there was 0, and you had to kill every single boss in the campaign purely by pushing yourself and your character to its absolute limit? Well, that's exactly what I'm attempting today, one of Borderlands' hardest challenges, and if I have any chance of pulling this off, then I might need a rare drop or two. I started this run the day the game came out, and the reason I'm interested in trying this is one, because Amon looks cool, but also I've seen multiple people who played the beta claim that this is the hardest Borderlands to date, so what better way to test that than not using the entire main point and mechanic of the game? And I have no idea what's coming, but that sets some ground rules. Rule number 1, the obvious one, no guns, just don't have them equipped at all. And the second rule is no legendary grenades. Legendary shields and stuff is fine as long as it isn't overly OP. And finally, the final rule, rule number 3, no excessive farming. I can't be overleveled for a boss fight. I have to be either the same level or underleveled. All right, let's get this started. Starting off, this guy's giving me a gun immediately. We don't need that. We're gonna unbind my shoot button and we're also gonna drop it. We're just only gonna be punching from here on out, and then grenades and stuff once I unlock them. And now, after punching my way through a few waves of enemies, I'm on to the very first boss of the game. And honestly, this guy was really easy. I mean, granted, he's a tutorial boss. I shouldn't expect too much. And it took a little bit, but he didn't really fight back a whole ton. And now, let's check the loot. I mean, new shield. I'll take it. Purple. Can't go wrong with that. And now I've unlocked specializations for my class. I'm gonna go with the rocket punch one. I tested the other ones, but they weren't overly appealing for the playstyle that I'm going for, as well as the rocket punch has some crazy reach on it. That will be on the quiz later, be sure to remember that. As well as a lot of the passives in the red tree are tailored for the playstyle I'm going for, with like overshield on melee attacks and stuff. It's not a big number, but it's helpful. And after punching my way through the next boss, I started to notice something a little bit concerning. This guy has the modifier of leaking, which means he has constantly an AoE on the floor around him, and if you walk into the AoE, you take damage, and I'm forced to just tank that because I have to walk up to him. And let's see the drops, come on. Nothing really good. I mean, maybe in the next one. I got high hopes, you know, high hopes. It's a Borderlands game. And after punching my way through the next few waves of enemies, I'm on to the next main boss of the game, which is the same archetype as the first one. He's just floating a little bit. This one's a little bit more annoying because he teleports around, but it still wasn't that big of an issue. The issue was he pulled out a scythe and started melee attacking as well in round 2. But I was just able to tank it, wasn't a big issue. And after killing him, I was able to get 2 more upgrades for my build. A new grenade and a new shield, both of which way better than what I had previously. And feeling confident, I just went headfirst to the next boss fight, just continuing the main story. Except there's just one tiny little problem. The next boss turns out to just be an airplane. Like, what am I even supposed to do here? Is the run just over? But you might remember I mentioned the rocket punch has a big reach on it. It's a really big reach, okay? And so now that I have the problem of DPSing out of the way, the issue is that it has a 1-minute cooldown, and so I have to wait a minute in between every single DPS phase. And after roughly 12 minutes of just dodging, waiting for cooldowns, having them come back up, punching a few times, and just rinsing and repeating, I finally killed him. For no loot. He dropped nothing. Dude, this sucks, man, so far. And I'm also starting to notice with all these modifiers, especially with all these people that keep flying, so I don't really have consistent DPS, my only hope is just to be able to out-tank some of these mechanics. And so that's exactly what I went to with my next 3 points, is just going into HP regen. And I'm so happy I did that. The very next boss, he doesn't have the leaking mechanic, but his main mechanics, when he slams, he has this blue field around him, and if you stand in the blue field, you just take constant damage. And so without this constant source of HP regen, I bet this guy would have been near impossible to complete. And again, this guy dropped nothing good. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. I am playing Borderlands, correct? And besides just lack of good gear upgrades, I noticed one other thing that was seriously setting me back. I just soft-locked my game here. By pressing this button and then jumping off, the platform lifts up. There's no way to get back on it. I had to restart the game, didn't work. I had to restart, like, go back into the previous area, and, like, after a lot of testing, it finally reset. So I could fight the first actual main boss of this game. Yeah, run me my one, big guy. And thankfully, I don't have to wait for cooldowns here. There is some more mechanics in here, which I'm happy to see, where, like, you have to grab canisters to, like, strip his shield and stuff. And he also has some, like, zone attacks where you have to stand in, like, certain zones, similar to just an MMORPG boss. And it's kind of cool. The issue is I can't DPS during that time, but it's nothing compared to the airplane that I just had to fight. And after a lot of punches, I got a 13-minute soul clear. I might be setting records here for the longest boss fights. And again, he didn't drop anything, just a shield that's not as good as the one that I have. This might quickly become an issue if I don't get an upgrade to help me with the next bosses. And I was completely right. After punching a few things that I was definitely supposed to shoot and were definitely not designed for somebody with punching in mind, I was seriously out-leveled in the next area. They were over 5 levels ahead of me, and I could barely do any damage to them. And after switching my pace and going to fight some other bosses, which happened to be a flying one, which was no fun, I quickly realized I was very under-geared as well. I was still rocking a level 6 grenade, and my other gear was around the same level as well, and I'm level 15. So under-geared, in fact, that this guy reset after a while, just completely respawned. Probably because I took too long, like, maybe it was a glitch, I don't know. And so it might be time to take a step away from the main missions and do some patrols and other stuff that I've been neglecting. And after wandering around, I saw that you can refight previous bosses, so I refought one of the other previous bosses, and the very first time I killed him, he dropped a legendary shield along with other things. This guy must have been hogging all the loot or something. I don't know why I haven't seen anything good so far besides this. And after fighting him a few more times, I also got a med kit that reduced my skill cooldown, which is very helpful. I wish I had that for the airplane. As well as a grenade that had some pretty cool effects. I was feeling pretty confident, was able to take care of that flying boss, no problem. I'm pretty lethal with these little like disc grenades. They're kind of cool. And although I was still incredibly under-leveled, it was actually manageable now. I was able to actually fight back against these guys. And they also dropped my second legendary now, my first one that was just out in the wild. And it's such a shame that it was a gun. I didn't pick it up, man. I'm not even going to be worried about that. And after clearing through a few more waves of enemies, as well as getting sidetracked a little bit with
gambling.
where I did eventually win the jackpot, but, I mean, we're sensing a pattern here. The rewards were not very good.
For the big hero.
I got to the next main boss, Callus. This one was actually pretty easy as a melee build. I mean, it was really helpful that I was just super tanky because I was able to just brute force my way through most of the mechanics. This boss actually only took 4 minutes, which is still very slow compared to somebody that has a firearm, but it's still decent for what I've been doing so far. And the drops weren't overly disappointing as well. I got my very first class mod here, which besides providing HP regen, which is definitely something that I need, it also gave me a few points in a skill that weakened enemies when I melee attacked them, which is helpful. And shortly thereafter, after punching a few more things, I got my third legendary drop now. But I'm sticking to my guns, or I guess lack thereof in this case. I'm not picking it up. I have no idea what heirloom does. Maybe it sells for more. I don't know, but we're just ignoring it. But I'm quickly noticing limitations with only melee attacks and certain grenades because there's certain bosses like the Vile prototype here where you have to hit the crystals. But the thing is when I swing, it just automatically connects to the middle of their body. It does not connect to the crystals, which means I can never get a DPS phase out of them unless the grenade hits it, which is annoying to say the least. And in the next boss of the game, Vile Lictor, that became even more apparent. For one, I mean, I just gotta point out this guy looks sick. I mean, great boss design here, but you can only DPS him when his like mouth thing is open. And I don't have a ranged weapon, which means I have to be up there with him. But the thing is that his main attack is that he does waves from where he is standing outwards, which means it's just constantly connecting with me, which means my only hope is to just tank it if I want to do any damage to this guy. As well as he has these floating arms around him, which seem to be like out of bounds of where I can stand in. When I go to swing it, my like screen just completely glitches out. But thankfully, phase 2, he got a little bit more up close and personal, which is probably a nightmare to somebody who's actually using a gun, and that probably favors me a lot more than the average player. And he also has some really cool wipe mechanics. I'm happy to see more like boss raid mechanics here. And also take a look at all that ammo on the floor, man. Like, it's just everywhere. And after dropping all the pocket lint that he had, I was able to move on to the next boss, which I was able to largely just ignore everything since I'm full tank build at this point. Like, even this fancy mechanic with the, like, spider web and stuff was just an over-glorified movement speed slow to me. Like, nothing was really going on. And I was able to take care of him, no problem. But the problem is coming. And next up is the final boss of the game, the Timekeeper. And after respecking to make sure that I'm completely ready, as well as I got a new class mod from that previous boss, I was ready for my final and biggest challenge. Thankfully, in all of his infinite wisdom, we could never see somebody just coming in and punching him, and that allowed me to ignore a lot of the mechanics that he had, such as a wall that stops bullets, because I don't have bullets. The problem, and what really made this a challenge, is that I have no revives here. Normally when you go down, you can hit something, and then you get back up as a second wind. All the second wind targets here are flying, not something that I can get to with a melee attack. But thankfully, a lot of this guy's moves are all movement and dodge based, which is thankfully all I can do. And the only really move that's targeted for a melee player is if you're too close to him, he just flashbangs you. Which, I mean, is annoying, but it's not really that big of a problem. But he has a second phase, and the second phase hurts. And if you die, you have to go through everything again. And keep in mind, for me to go through the first whole phase of him, it's like 10 minutes at least. But I've already come this far, and Borderlands' self-designated strongest ankle biter is not going to give up this easily. And after half an hour of just constantly dodging mechanics and doing barely any damage, it was over. And I answered the question that likely nobody ever asked. Yes, you can beat Borderlands 4 without guns. And here's the final build. Medkit with health burst and increased healing, grenade with a close range spray and ricochet, but it doesn't really have a huge impact, and there's an interesting story that I'll tell you in a second. Legendary shield with missiles on kill, which again didn't really help with the boss at all, and a gun enhancement that didn't help at all, but I never found a better one, and a class mod with some bonus health and longer abilities. And when I say interesting story with the grenade, you can see that I have 0 kills and 0 critical hits on every single weapon type, except 1 kill in the SMG category. And that's because apparently the ricochet from the grenade bullets counts as an SMG kill. So I didn't use it outside of boss fights once I saw that happen. And thank you for watching the challenge run, and if there's any others you want to see, let me know in the comments, and until next time.